Hello, history lovers, and welcome back to History Channel. Today, we're journeying into a past often shrouded in silence, a past filled with courage that echoes through the generations. We're going to pull back the curtain on the colonial era in Africa, not to focus on the conquerors, but to shine a bright, unwavering light on the heroes who resisted, the communities that endured, and the spirit of resilience that could never be extinguished. This is Colonial Shadows, the untold stories of African resistance and resilience. When we learn about colonialism in school, the narrative is often simplified. We hear about explorers and empires, but the stories of the African people are frequently painted with a broad, passive brush. But that picture is incomplete. The truth is, from the very first moment foreign powers set foot on African soil with intentions of conquest, there was resistance. It wasn't sporadic. It was constant, diverse, and incredibly brave. Let's travel back to the late 19th century, to what is now Ethiopia. As European powers carved up the continent in the scramble for Africa, Italy set its sights on the ancient Ethiopian Empire. In 1896, at the Battle of Ottawa, Emperor Menelik II and Empress Taitu orchestrated one of the most significant victories in African history. They didn't just have a small band of warriors. They mobilized a massive, unified army from across Ethiopia's diverse ethnic groups. Imagine over 100,000 soldiers, armed with a mix of traditional and modern weapons, standing shoulder to shoulder to defend their sovereignty. They strategically outmaneuvered and decisively defeated a technologically superior Italian force. Ottawa wasn't just a military victory. It was a beacon of hope. It sent a powerful message across Africa and the world. African people were not passive subjects of conquest. They were defenders of their legacy, architects of their own destiny. This victory ensured Ethiopia remained one of the only African nations to successfully resist European colonization. But resistance wasn't always fought on grand battlefields. Let's shift our focus to West Africa and to a remarkable woman named Ya Asantio, the queen mother of the Ejisu in the Ashanti Empire in modern-day Ghana. In 1900, the British governor demanded the golden stool, the sacred symbol of the Ashanti nation's unity and soul. When the Ashanti leaders hesitated, fearing a full-blown war, Ya Asantewa rose. In a powerful speech, she shamed the men for their cowardice and declared that if they would not fight, she and the women would. Her words ignited a fire. She led the Ashanti rebellion known as the War of the Golden Stool. For months, her forces laid siege to the British fort in Kumasi. Though the rebellion was eventually suppressed and she was exiled, Asantio's legacy is monumental. She became a symbol of fierce anti-colonial defiance, a testament to the fact that leadership and courage know no gender. She wasn't just fighting for land. She was fighting for the very identity and soul of her people. Resistance also took forms far beyond armed conflict. It was woven into the fabric of everyday life. This is where the story of resilience truly shines. In many colonized regions, people resisted through culture. They kept their languages alive, whispering stories and songs to their children in defiance of colonial schools that sought to erase them. They practiced their spiritual beliefs in secret, creating syncretic faiths that blended old traditions with new realities, preserving a core part of their identity. They created art, music, and dance that were not just entertainment, but powerful statements of cultural pride and subtle mockery of their oppressors. Think of the intricate patterns in textiles, each with a hidden meaning, or the rhythms of a drum that carried messages the colonizers couldn't understand. This was cultural warfare, a quiet, persistent rebellion that kept the spirit of a people from being broken. Economic resistance was another crucial front. Colonial powers sought to exploit Africa's resources, forcing people into cash crop economies or labor on plantations and in mines. But people found ways to push back. Workers organized some of the first labor strikes on the continent, demanding better wages and conditions, often at great personal risk. Farmers would sometimes refuse to grow the cash crops demanded by colonial authorities, choosing instead to grow food for their own communities. They created informal market systems and trade networks that operated outside of colonial control. These acts of economic self-determination were acts of defiance. They were small-scale revolutions against an exploitative system, demonstrating a deep-seated desire for autonomy and economic justice. Let's look at the intellectual resistance as well. Many of whom had studied in Europe and saw the hypocrisy of colonial powers preaching liberty while practicing oppression. Figures like Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya, Nnamdi Azikiwe in Nigeria, and Leopold Sédar Senghor in Senegal used the colonizer's own language and intellectual traditions to dismantle the philosophical justifications for colonial rule. They wrote powerful essays, founded newspapers, and formed political movements that articulated a vision for a free and independent Africa. They championed concepts like Pan-Africanism, uniting people across the continent and the diaspora in a shared struggle for liberation. This intellectual battle laid the essential groundwork for the independence movements that would sweep across Africa in the mid-20th century. What's truly incredible is how these different forms of resistance, military, cultural, economic, and intellectual, often intertwined. A farmer resisting cash crops might also be sharing forbidden stories with his children at night. A market woman leading a protest against unfair taxes might also be financing the first nationalist newspapers. It was a holistic struggle, fought by everyone, everywhere. The heroes weren't just the famous leaders. They were the ordinary men and women who made extraordinary choices every single day to affirm their dignity and humanity in the face of overwhelming pressure. These stories of resistance and resilience are not just footnotes in history. They are the very foundation of modern Africa. The strength shown by generations past continues to inspire movements for justice, equality, and true sovereignty today. Understanding this history helps us appreciate the depth of the continent's spirit and the complex, powerful legacy of its people. It challenges us to look beyond the simplistic narratives and see the full, vibrant, and heroic picture. Thank you so much for joining us on this important journey today. The shadows of colonialism are long, but the light of African resistance and resilience is infinitely brighter. If you found these stories as inspiring as I do, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next exploration into the histories that shape our world. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.